Okay, preparation time is over and I call this house to order. Welcome to the judge test for BP Novice 2013. I thank you all for your cooperation. The motion for this judge test is this house would require indigenous communities to send their children to school of modern education. Now, without any further ado, I'd like to call upon the Prime Minister to open their case within 7 minutes. Hear, hear.
Ladies and gentlemen in this house, as the opening government, we strongly believe that the children's choice is very important and we have to ensure those choice for the students. So we are very proud to propose. First, I want to define this motion. We will take this in all liberal democratic countries and we will send all children in their compulsory education age, and if there is no school in that community, we will make new schools in that local area. And if some students have the different language, the government will support those children to learn those languages. So moving on to my point, I have 2 points to talk about. First is why the children's choice is limited under the city school, and second is why we can justify to send the children to those modern education. And first, why under the city school those children's choices are limited is because they don't receive the good education. They have the indigenous education in their community, but those indigenous education is that maybe if it is a woman they will cook, or if it is the boy they will hunt, or those things, and that is totally different from the modern education. And only receiving those education, they cannot go out from their community because they don't even know the literature and they cannot write, they cannot calculate, so they are bounded in that community and they are losing their possibility to go out to other schools. So even if those students want to go out to have the high education, but they don't know how to read or write, so those children are limited of those choices. So after taking this proposal, what will happen is they can have their own choice. Yes, please.
Don't you think this policy essentially eradicate the choice to stay in the community? Don't you think?
Okay, we think that we can stay in the community because we can do both of them. We will send those children to that local place, modern education, but also in their house they can receive indigenous community. So we can choose both, and there is no harm of those opposition side will say. So we think that is good for children's choice, and we can ensure both of the cultures. So we think that is no problem. And moving back onto my point, after taking this proposal, what will happen is that they will be sent to the modern education. So even if it's a boy or a woman, all people can go to those educations. They will learn the literature and maybe they will learn how to calculate, and that is fundamental thing for the students, because if they want to have if they want to go out from the society, or if they want to have the other job, they can go to those places because they know the same language and they know how to live in that other country, other cities, because in that modern education they will receive the history, or they will receive everything as the other citizens in the country. So the education level will go up and they will be the same as other citizens in that country. So we think that is very beneficial to the children. Why is that? Because having the education is the fundamental thing, and even if they want to do anything, they need their writing skills or they need their calculating skills, because as the human, if we want to go to the good companies, they need to enter those companies with, they cannot go without writings. So we think that education is very important. So we think they can have the future choice, because they can, if they are the same level as other citizens, they can have the same opportunity to go out of those communities. And second, why we can legitimize this proposal is that under this status quo, there is a compulsory education for all citizens in that countries. So we think this proposal is just extending to those indigenous communities' children. So we think that is no problem, because as what under this status quo government is doing and providing the education for the children's future choice, and that all parents have to agree on that education. So they are doing in other cities, so we can extend to those indigenous communities. So there is no problem, because why those governments provide the indigenous education is to protect their future choice and expand the ability of children. So we think the government's role is to protect those children, and they should provide the minimum skills for those children. So we think there is no problem for this harm, and there is only the benefits for those children in that communities. So after they will take this, we will take this proposal, children can learn and children can know many things as same as the citizens. So we think that that is very important, and that will expand their future choice. So we are very, very proud to propose. Thank you.
Okay, speaker spoke for 6 minutes, 53 seconds. I'd like to thank the Prime Minister, and next let's call upon the Leader of Opposition to open their case within 7 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen. After taking proposal, individual child's life is more difficult because they cannot get how to hunting skill, how to research skill. This skill is lost, and because so their life is more difficult. That's why we oppose this motion. Firstly, I have two refutations for previous speaker. Previous speaker say status quo child's future is more minimized. I have two responses on this point. Firstly, why status quo indigenous child's first choice their future they don't explain. Status quo also they want to go out children they study their self, and some people can go out. Why need all people go educate? They don't explain. That's why their argument does not stand. Secondly, After taking proposal, indigenous child also can get high skill, but it is not true because indigenous modern education not apply for indigenous communities because their lifestyle and modern child's lifestyle is totally different. Two different points, language point and their lifestyle point. Firstly, their indigenous child can don't have much language and they don't understand their modern education class. Indigenous community have a different lifestyle. Modern child go bed in their 9 p.m. But indigenous communities child go bed at 5 p.m. before down sun. So their lifestyle is totally different. So they please imagine they get class, indigenous child get class and they cannot concentrate this class, so they become sleepy. That's why they cannot get high skill because their benefit does not stand. Okay, next I explain my positive argument. Firstly, I talk about three issues. Firstly, status quo, indigenous community do comfortable life thanks for indigenous education. Secondly, this knowledge is particularly important for indigenous child. Thirdly, after taking proposal, this benefit is break. I explain one by one. Firstly, status quo, they do comfortable life thanks for indigenous education because indigenous education teach how to hunting, how to research, which food is safety. This is uniquely teach for child in indigenous education, and this knowledge is uniquely important for indigenous school children because they live in forest and if they so thanks for this education they can understand this food is safety and how to hunting and they can get a lot of food and thus thanks for this knowledge and they can get food. But after taking proposal,
Before that,
no thank you. After taking proposal, this benefit is break because parents return village they cannot do comfortable life. They cannot live because they don't know how to hunting, how to research because modern education not teach how to hunting, how to research. They only teach mathematics and they only teach English language. That's why they don't know such a knowledge. That's why if they return child return village, they can get enough food. This situation is particularly serious because they sustain that they must need. Please open it.
we are not banning the indigenous education. They can teach inside their house of that knowledge.
But it is not true because if they go modern education, their time which how to hunting, this time is particularly decreased and they cannot get such a knowledge. That's why they they cannot get food, and this situation is particularly serious because if they lost such a knowledge, please imagine one child become adult, child to go, they return village, they go, they get food. And this time they don't know how to hunting. That's why they cannot get enough food. That's why they cannot sustain life. This situation is particularly serious. That's why we oppose this motion. Thank you for listening.
Okay, speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 16 seconds. Now let's thank the leader of opposition, and next let's call upon the Deputy Prime Minister to continue their case within 7 minutes. Here.
選挙にさせていた We believe what we want to protect is potential power by children, Mr. Speaker. So the government duty is to ensure that to maximize the opportunity of the children. Thereby, we strongly believe, we want to strongly believe to take this motion. So 2 points in my speech. Firstly, I talk about whether or not that even after taking this proposal, children can know the indigenous culture. Secondly, I talk about how by taking this proposal that we can maximize the choice in the within the maximize the children's choice. So Rivatas is integrity in my speech. So my first argument. So previous speakers say that if by taking this proposal that those indigenous children couldn't know the indigenous culture at all, couldn't understand the indigenous culture, but we don't think so. First of all, as my partner told you, that we want to educate both education, the indigenous culture and the fundamental education. So why the time is so essential to understand the culture? We don't think still we want to ensure the certain times for certain times to understand the indigenous culture. We think it is enough in the first place. And even if by taking this proposal, children ignore the indigenous culture. But we are very happy. Why is that? Because we want to ensure that the decisions made by the children themselves, Mr. Speaker. So even by taking this proposal, the number of children who are living in the indigenous community decrease. What we want to protect is the children's choice, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, we think that it is even if the children do not understand the culture by this proposal, so it's fine because we want to ensure that children's choice and children's own decisions, Mr. Speaker. So second of all, the previous speaker said that, no, thank you. Those indigenous children do not concentrate on education. But we don't think so. Still, we can check indigenous children's behavior. Why is that? Because teacher exists to check whether or not those indigenous children do good behavior or not, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, we think it's not the problem in the first place. So, coming to my second argument, how we can ensure the potential possibility in the children. So, Mr. Speaker, as my partner told you that we want to provide the fundamental education, which is essential to maximize the children's choice, Mr. Speaker. For example, fundamental education is like mathematics or the history or the science. We think is a basic tool to further understand the more higher education, Mr. Speaker. So, without those fundamental education, those indigenous student could not understand those higher education in the speaker. So we think thereby we think so understand score. Thereby in order to ensure those potential possibility, we think we need this plan with the speaker in order to maximize the choice in the children in the first place. So the problem is understand score. The indigenous community do not provide those fundamental education, Mr. Speaker. Why not? Because the understand score there is a norms, in order to indigenous community have the incentives to keep the children in the community and not to go out those children. Why not? Because in order to sustain that community, intentionally those indigenous community do not provide the education to the children. So we think that's why understand score. That's why we want to provide the education to maximize the possibility in the children, Mr. Speaker. Thereby, those children understand school do not have the access to other social background children or the other social background, Mr. Speaker. Because in understand school, in the indigenous schools, the students all students have same culture. No other culture exists, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, understand school, the problem exists. But taking this proposal, that those children, those indigenous children can meet with very kinds of children who has very kinds of the social background. The indigenous after taking proposal, those children can play with those different kinds of social background children, Mr. Speaker. Thereby, by taking this proposal, they can understand their identity, their cultural identity, and as a first place by taking this proposal. Thereby, so after taking proposal, after first time, they can understand whether my culture, what culture they have is meaningful or not. And at the first place, by taking proposal, they can have the choice to continue to have their culture or to live in other culture. We think that is we want to protect and to maximize their choices. Yes.
Okay, scientific knowledge can be obtained even after these individuals grow up. Why do you have to impose? However, identity can be obtained only when these individuals go through that kind of childhood education. Why do you have to impose a kind of scientific knowledge in the childhood?
Because so in childhood ages, they only have only have one particular culture. In that situation, we think it is very difficult for the children to overcome that culture, Mr. Speaker, because the identity is very so embedded, Mr. Speaker. In that situation, strongly we believe that children's choice is limited. They are forced to live in the community. They have no opportunity to live in the other culture, Mr. Speaker. Thereby, what we want to protect is the opportunity. By taking this proposal, as I told you, that as the first place, the children, those indigenous children can have the background that they can choose their life by their own will, Mr. Speaker. This is very important decision. So, as my partner told you, that state exists to maximize the children's choice by their own decision, Mr. Speaker. So, in order to ensure that opportunities, this principle, we need to take this kind of thing.
Okay, I thank the Deputy Prime Minister. Speaker spoke for 7 minutes, 7 seconds. Now let's call upon the Deputy Leader for Opposition to continue their case within 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen. So we really agree with their stance that we want to protect the children's choice. So, but we believe that under the status quo, we already keep the children's free choice. But after taking this plan, we have to force the children to go out of the village or their community. So we believe that this is more forced choice for these children, so it's more harm. So, and moreover, by taking this proposal, the culture of their own community will be collapsed because firstly there is no people who will be received their cultural skill or so forth. Okay, so that's why we are happy. We believe that this motion is really harm for not only the children but also the village itself. So that's why we have to oppose this motion. Personally, if it was opposition side, government side had said, they said that there is some the language support from the teacher, so they can learn the academic skill so forth. But we believe that it's not true. At first, in the first place, these children is the children who have to go down, who is the age of the compulsory education. So for these children, it's hard to learn about the foreign language or so forth. Please imagine if you are such an age and you have to learn the English and also you have to learn the mathematics or some their mathematics or their history in their English. This it's really hard, and we cannot even you can get some academic skill, but it's really limited. So we cannot see any feasibility of this motion of this proposal. And secondly, the Deputy Prime Minister has said about to know about the other's identity is really good also, but we cannot see any necessity to learn about it. Why is it? Because the children in these communities have to can live in their can live in that village also for in their lifelong. So that they don't have to go out. So we don't have to see any identity. And even if it's necessity, it's necessary. For some children, it's necessary, and they have to learn. But under the status quo, their choice is protected. Because if they want to go out of the village, they can go. So their argument is not standard. So let me move on my argument. I have three arguments. First argument is that by taking this proposal, they cannot live in their village. Why is that? Because, as my partner told you, but they cannot learn about how to hunting or how to research or so forth. But which skill is needed to live in that village? Okay.
Why these skills should be taught in this church when they are the children? This skill can get after that they will be allowed. Don't you think so?
Oh, it's also that we believe that the fundamental skill will be a fundamental academic skill will be taught. We can get that children can get some fundamental academic skill after their they will be more older or so, because there is some book to learn about fundamental skills so forth. So we believe that we cannot see, and moreover we cannot see why they have to get the academic skill or for these children. We cannot see any necessity, and moreover okay, so your point is not important. Let me move on my argument. So my first argument is that they can live in the village after taking this plan. And second argument is that the children cannot live in the so the children will be escaped from the village, so that the village will be deserted. And third one is that even the children can succeed to graduate from the school, but they cannot work at that modern culture. So I'll explain one by one. First, they cannot live in the village. Why is that? As my partner clearly told you, there is no time to learn about the skill. For example, if they have to go to the school in the daytime, all daytime, so that they cannot know how to hunting, because hunting is often in the daytime, because it's if they have to go to the school and they go back to the village at night, but there is no animal in that village, so that they cannot hunt or so forth. But hunting skill is really needed for the village. Why is it? Because for example, this village is really hard to live because of for example, the crop will not be grown up because because the sound quality is low or so forth. So to live in the village, these children have to learn about the hunting or so forth. But after taking this fund, they have no time to learn it, so that they cannot live their life. Second, let me make my second argument about the no thank you. So there is some opening, sit down. So the children can't live in the community, so that there is, because okay, so after taking this fund, the children have to go to the school, so that they can get any skill to live in that village. So if the children will be grown up and they will be adult and they have their own children, but they cannot tell how to live in the village or so forth. So that the children have no choice to live in the village. Why is it? Because they have no way to live in the village, because there is no or so forth. So that they have to go to the city or so forth. So in that situation, they forced to go out the village. So we believe that this is a forced choice. Our third argument is that why children can adopt in the future. As my father clearly told us, that their language or their lifestyle, for example, the time or so forth, is different from the citizens' life. So, but if they were grown, so after taking this proposal, if the children grown up and they have to work at the company, but their life schedule is really different from their own schedule, so they will get more stress, so that they can concentrate on the work. So this is not benefit for these people. Thank you.
Okay, speaker spoke for 7 minutes 25 seconds, and I thank the Deputy Leader for opposition. Now, moving to the closing houses of this debate, I call upon the members of government to open the case of closing government. Here, here.
Opposition side, unfortunately, missed the important point. The government opposition side government side duty is enhancing the happiness or choice of the children. So we totally have to take this promotion. So we'd like to refute the opposition side opinion. So opposition side said that if children have to go to the modern education school, the time to learn the hunting or something like that will be decreased. But it's not true, because there is a weekend or some vacation, so they can learn such kind of thing in the time. So this doesn't stand. And the next point is that the opposition side said that they don't need the academic skill, but they don't need they don't have to learn the modern education in the compulsory school. So, but it's not true, because their children is very flexible and they are easy to learn some mathematics or something like that. And moreover, when the children become adults, the time will be more limited. So they are very busy. So that's why we have to learn the modern education in the compulsory age. So, and they also think the opposition side said that they don't have to need their academic skill, but it's not true. It will limit the choice of the children. So let me move on to our argument. First argument is why this motion will be maximizing the choice of children, and the second point is that decreasing the discrimination. So let me move on to the first point. The first point is that some minority parent like Aboriginal or Shannon or something like that some people don't want children to take modern education in the status quo because they don't want make children learn discriminated history or modern medical education or something like that. So children children are very immature and they're no irrational. They cannot do rational thinking, so they have to obey the parents' will. So they will become narrow-minded and something like that. So they are only way to become the Aboriginal people or like that, and they cannot live in the modern real world. Like in the real world, there are a lot of value, like Hindu value or Buddhism value or something like that, but they cannot learn in in their community. So that's why they become narrow-minded, and they remain the only way to become the people like their parents. So this will restrict the choice of the children. So, but the after plan, they can learn a lot of value, So their possibility to become they have a lot of possibility. They gain a lot of possibility, like become a more business person or something like that. And after they take compulsory education, and they still think that Aboriginal life is good, they can go back to Aboriginal life. There is a choice to become Aboriginal person or modern person, so that the choice will be enhanced. So that's why we think that this is very important for the children. And the second point is that the second point is the decreasing the discrimination. If the children go to their community school, they only can contact with the people which is also belong to the same community, So there is no connection between the ordinary majority people and minor people, So there is no connection, and this will enhance the discrimination because the discrimination or prejudice or something like that, because the majority people don't have the opportunity to learn the minor people is really what the minor people is really like, even though they have a good way of thinking or something like that, but there is no opportunity to learn such a kind of thing. So that's why discrimination will be occurred. But after this motion will be so that's why proudly suggest this motion. Thank you.
Okay, speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 15 seconds, and I'd like to thank the member of government, and I call upon the member of opposition to open their case for 7 minutes ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Speaker, fundamentally, way of thinking is fundamentally important, Mr. Speaker. Moreover, education is best way, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, what happened after taking proposal situation? After taking proposal situation, government admit white persons, government impose white persons, society's value impose indigenous children, indigenous community, Mr. Speaker. So, government should make a fair situation between indigenous society and modern society, Mr. Speaker. So we should oppose this motion. So, Mr. Speaker, member of government told you after taking over the situation, discrimination is decreased, but it is not true because after taking over the situation, indigenous persons are more radicalized, and they want against modern and white persons' value because moreover, indigenous society more fall into closed society, Mr. Speaker. So therefore, after taking over the situation, decrease discrimination from modern society person, but after taking over the situation, indigenous children, indigenous person against more and more against modern society. So after taking over the situation, cannot solve under cause discrimination. So therefore, their side is totally nonsense, Mr. Speaker. So Mr. Speaker, sorry. So I would like to talk about two issues. First is children's happiness. Second is compare their side and our side. So I explain one by one. First, we believe children's happiness is community's happiness, Mr. Speaker. So because parents educate their children long term no psyche. Therefore, we should protect indigenous society and indigenous children's education. So, Mr. Speaker, why today's government side regulate indigenous parents' rights? I believe parents is best actor to raise their children and make their children's future. So even if after taking over the situation, all children can maximize their opportunity, but after taking over the situation, parents cannot educate their children, and the children lost their indigenous skill and education, Mr. Speaker. And moreover, I believe under this constitution, children get best education in their society. So So, Mr. Speaker, opening opposition side, nicely told you, after taking over the situation, children cannot get enough skill in their society. For example, hunting or fishing and so on. Mr. Speaker, after taking over the situation, of course, children cannot maximize their skill. Later. I believe after taking over the situation, children cannot maximize their education. Of course, this education is their society's education and skill and modern skill and education. Because children cannot understand teachers' education because those education is very contradictory between their teachers and parents. So because teachers' information and parents' information is totally different. Mr. Speaker, please imagine you are indigenous children and you cannot get information about major or accident if in forest bear appear or you attacked by a bee and you fall into a poison, but you don't have to enough education about treatment those situations. Unfortunately, after taking over the situation, therefore, children cannot maximize their modern education. And Mr. Speaker, please compare. Under this situation, if children can get writing skill, but after taking over the situation, those children must lose their local language and so therefore after taking over the situation, totally children cannot get each of those cases, so we should avoid this motion.
Okay, speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 29 seconds. Now I thank the member for opposition, and to conclude the government bench, I call upon the government whip speaker.
Today. We never ever like to say, we wouldn't like to say that the indigenous communities or indigenous culture is not important and less important, but there is a situations under the status quo that children have to follow the parents' ideas or the family's ideas, and if the children would like to maximize their choices, like they like to go to the modern society, but there are the situations that they can't go to the modern education. So that it is the problem under the status quo. To solve this problem, we are happy to propose this motion. First of all, I like to refute the totally opposition side says, and the second, I like to deconstruct my partner, and the third, I like to summarize today's round. I like to explain one by one. The first. Yeah.
Entire government don't engage that in state school, indigenous child can study about outside and
Please
engage.
sit down, please. the opposition side never ever told you that why the under status quo they can get the modern education, but the government side story engaged the point that there are the situations the families force the children to stay in the society because of they would like to sustain their society, or that they think that their culture is the most important in their lives. So that this is the situation, but the opposition side never ever engage the point so that it is not important. Let me move on. So first, no, thank you. The first, let me refute. The first, the opposition side only would like to say that there are the situations that under the status quo, the children have the choice to go to the modern society. But we don't think so. That my partner and the government side told you that there are the situations the families are totally force the children and to stay in the society, and their chances to get education is very limited, and their opposition has never ever told you how and why that these the children can get these modern educations, because so that it is not important. And secondly, after taking this round, the opposition side says that there are no time to get their own cultural skills, but it is not true. My partner clearly told you, and the government sides are told you that there are the other ways, and there are the off time for them, for their children, like in their vacation or in their weekend, they can get these skills even after taking this plan. And moreover, my partner pointed out why these skills have to be gifted during their childhood, but compared with the modern education, no thank you, modern education is the more the modern education should be taught as soon as they are possible. Why is that? Because these skills can get only they are in their childhood. Why is that? Because the children is a more acceptable actor compared with the adults, and this is a precious time. Sit down, please. To get these skills, but these handling skills or these skills, why the opposition side never ever told you why these skills should be get during the 6 years old, during the 13 years old. They never ever told you, and even if their idea or their culture or their tales or their history is important, these ideas or this history can be get from the families regardless their time, daytime or the nighttime, so it is not important. So their opposition side argument does not totally stand. And moreover, they said no thank you. The governments admit that no thank you. White people's idea force the white people's idea, but we don't think so. That in the first place, I clearly mentioned about the government has never ever denied the values of these indigenous communities. No thank you. So indigenous communities, and if these children would like to get these skills after this compulsory education, they can choose these skills. So that it is not important. Let me move on my construct. My partner clearly mentioned about why these modern education should be taught during the childhood. Why is that? Because the children is immature, and the children is influenced by the parents easily. And if the children get this family's idea, only this family's idea, the children have no time to get these modern educations, or the children think that the modern education is not good, and this indigenous community is the best for me. So that in these situations, the children are deployed these chances, and the children are forced to stay in the society. It is a problem. And moreover, the children would like to get the modern society's educations. The families are forced that you are girls and you should be staying in the community, so that you don't have to get these chances. But after taking this plan, what will happen is that after taking this plan, that even these indigenous communities indigenous communities' cultures, regardless of the white people or the other communities' people. In these situations, we can decrease. It is a very beneficial thing for the children, and we as the government, we should take this on. So thank you for listening.
Today's speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 3 seconds. Now I thank the government whip, and to conclude the round as a whole and the opposition bench, I call upon the opposition whip.
As a tournament director of this particular tournament, I'm extremely proud to say this motion never ever stand. I think it's really quite funny. That's why I would say we can understand both the scientific knowledge and the indigenous culture. We think it is exceedingly difficult, particularly for a child, to understand both of them. We think this is mutually exclusive. With identity is mutually exclusive, with scientific knowledge. As long as we think that it is mutually exclusive, we are more than happy to prioritize identity over the scientific knowledge. So I want to talk about two things in my speech. First, effect of this particular policy. Secondly, recognizing the effect, why it is so unjustifiable in this debate. So firstly, the effect of this particular motion. So opening comment came up and said, it is very important for us to know the scientific knowledge because it is a necessary condition to enter in the good company and things like that. We can understand the science, mathematics, or calculation, things like that. We say firstly, this is not necessarily true, right? Because in their paradigm, what will happen is that in the house, the mother said the scientific is a fucking shit. However, the teacher said the scientific is fantastic and things like that. So we think, Mr. Speaker, the children are more likely to be confused from the kind of a contradiction coming from those two parties. We think, Mr. Speaker, these individuals are less likely to understand that kind of the stuff. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, fundamentally the effect coming from that side of the house is not something achievable in the first place. More than that, Mr. Speaker, we think that even if it is possible, we think that kind of things is less likely to be effective for these individuals, Mr. Speaker. And because at the end of the day, we think the majority of the individuals in the community is going to, less likely to go into the kind of city, like Sydney, like Melbourne and things like that. So recognizing this, Mr. Speaker, recognizing the quantity of the individuals who do not need the kind of education, we are more than happy to sacrifice these individuals who want to get the kind of education. So therefore, we think the argument is fundamentally wrong in the first place. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, they said, we can facilitate the kind of the maximization of the choice. So therefore, this policy is fundamentally fantastic. We say this is not necessarily true, right? Because in their paradigm, what they are trying to do is hindering the choice to stay in the community, Mr. Speaker. This is what my partner clearly told you, Mr. Speaker, that we think that education, particularly in the childhood, in the early stages, is exceedingly important for the creation or the construction of the identity. It is impossible for us to educate how the Japanese citizens behave after these individuals grow up. It is impossible for us to educate how the aborigine think the particular thing. Because, Mr. Speaker, the way of the thinking is a fundamental that every time we see the word through some kind of identity, through the way of the thinking. That kind of the way of thinking is possible only when we give the education in the childhood. So recognizing, Mr. Speaker, the fundamental necessity or fundamental importance of the way of the thinking, or fundamental way of the thinking, we think, Mr. Speaker, that they are trying to sacrifice is very, very precious. So therefore, we do not want to sacrifice the kind of the fundamental thinking. So therefore, we think we are more than happy to prioritize that kind of the stuff. The reason why it is so important in this debate is precisely because, Mr. Speaker, we think the indigenous community are something special. That these individuals stayed in the community for a long time. That even if the white man came to Australia in the 19th century, the Aborigine stayed the kind of this island for a so long time, Mr. Speaker, that these individuals did nothing wrong whatsoever. However, that they are trying to do is an imposition or the white man's value in the first way. We think, Mr. Speaker, that because the Aborigine people has the legitimacy to preserve their way of thinking, their identity, we think that that kind of destroyal of the kind of identity is particularly unjustifiable in this debate. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, if the effect of coming from this particular policy is actually true, we think this is very disgrace in this debate. They also told us in their paradigm the discrimination will decrease, so therefore this policy is fantastic. No, Mr. Speaker, my partner fantastically told you this is not necessarily true, right? Because if the government of Australia said indigenous communities education is less than the modern education, the worse than the kind of modern education, what will happen? That kind of the Australian government will antagonize the people in the indigenous community. What will happen? That if these individuals are antagonized, that they are more likely to have animosity against the white man government. We think, Mr. Speaker, that because of the kind of animosity, the community are more likely to become more close community. So we say this is particularly harmful. Let me give you an example from the UK in 1980s. In 1980s in London, what was happened to the Pakistani community was that because the British citizens criticized, so very criticized the Pakistani community, because of that the Pakistani community closed the community, they stopped any form of communication with the white man in London, in the UK, Mr. Speaker. We said in their paradigm that because that kind of antagonization of the Aborigine will happen, so because of that, it is very counterproductive. Because they are just closing the door between the modern and the yes.
Even if by being proposed, children confused. In the end, they make decision and conservation of their identity. Why don't you respect the self-determination in your life?
Mr. Speaker, at the end of the day, that this is the balance of the right. That we agree individual right is to a certain extent important. However, Mr. Speaker, that because we think that identity is more important than the kinds of the scientific knowledge, as long as the identity is more important than the kind of the scientific knowledge, we're more than happy to prioritize the kind of the way of the thinking of the particular community. Let's say, Shinshin to Yukiga was the kind of stuff, right? That kind of the language is obtained only insofar we give the education to the individual from the childhood. We think, Mr. Speaker, the kind of the value is very precious, so therefore this policy is very important. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, my speech is not so structured. However, we think that because the kind of the fundamental way of the thinking is happen only when we give education in the childhood. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, this motion must not stand.
Speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 13 seconds, and I think the speaker or speakers are over already.
死んでるな、何にも難しい。
まあいいな、まだ終わってんのか。
切れる。